What was your experience being in D.C. during the civil rights movement?
It really didn't bother me that much, because I was far enough into the suburbs. And there was very little problems there. Most of it was within the city of Washington, not out in Maryland. So there was some in Virginia, but not a lot. You know, because there really were not that many blacks involved in all where we lived. There were really none.
What was the most memorable thing that happened during the movement?
The burning of the city. Burning of the different parts of the city. And I don't remember too much, like I say, about the things down in the mall and the Lincoln Memorial in different parts of the city, but it's, you know, huge protests and everything.
After Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech at the Washington National Cathedral, African Americans around the country rioted about the poor living conditions, unemployment, and discrimination that was against them. After Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, the riots got worse. Stokely Carmichael urged them to keep calm, but they didn't listen. Rioters, many of them teenagers, smashed windows, looted stores, and started fires in the surrounding buildings in Washington, D.C. As the riot continued, students left the schools to join the riot. Also, as the riot continued, it became less political and more just for the sake of rioting. In the end, they ended up burning their own houses and places that they worked, leaving many without jobs.
You have help growing up black women or people helping you around the house?
When I was little, we did. During World War II, I said, gentlemen, Frances that came to help me when my father would work. She wouldn't eat with us. She would clean the house and do all that. We had a lady that ironed for us. And we had another lady that cleaned. And then when my kids were growing up, we had help, black help. And most of my friends did too. We shared the same people and all. I mean, my friend that died 3 years ago, she had the same lady that had worked for me that worked for her until she died. I mean, Louise, she called me and said Louise died. I mean, I was really upset because she'd worked for us. She was just a wonderful, wonderful lady. She was black, but that didn't make a
When you were there, did you see a lot of police brutality at all?
No. Like I say, my cousin was a police officer, and the black officers, the black people were more afraid of them than the whites. They were afraid of their own people. Because a lot of them, there was an embarrassment that this was all happening.
Unlike what Donna says, there was actually quite a bit of police violence during the civil rights movement. Though it was not a huge factor where she lived, places with a great majority of African Americans that were rioting were met with quite a bit of police brutality.
We had a problem when my middle daughter Ann, they bused kids in, bus loads. They had passed 11 bus loads of children into our white school, and they busted the children out. My Ann was coming across the playground, was severely beaten. It was not fun. And choked her with her raincoat collar and beat her legs and all. She was walking home. My neighbor saw her and brought her to my house, and she came in. I was petrified because she was really hurting. So anyway, I called the principal of the school. It just happened that a police officer, a friend of mine, had come to pick up something for his wife. And he was there. And he looked at her, and we called the principal, and he came to the house. And he took her back, and she picked out the two children and beat her. So they took them, went to their home the next day, and spoke to the parents. And they were very, very upset and sad. The reason why they did it, she had nice clothes and shiny shoes. So they were expelled from school. And they were in the first grade the same as she was. Then they bust Ellen. They bust her in third grade. And they bust her away to a junior high middle school type. And she was there. And it was, they literally, in the high schools, like they broke up the teams that were there. Like the basketball team, they'd bus half the team away to another school. And they would bus other kids in. So as a result, they broke up the teams, and that was really frightening. You know. But I had to walk my daughter to school every day. You know, she didn't want to go. She would scream at night. Oh, please don't beat me. Please don't beat me. And that was the only incident we ever had at that school. You know, so.
Though it is more well known that the African Americans were bused places against their will, white students were also bused. This separated communities that had certain rules and standards which caused tension in the new schools that they went to. White students weren't the only ones who didn't like to be bused to a whole new place, such as the case of Brown versus the Board of Education, where the court found that it was unreasonable for the students to have to be bused to the new schools.
This is years ago up in Boston, and he went to rent a house for the black people that were part of the team that helped open the restaurant. They didn't want to rent it to him. So we have to have places for people to live. Sorry. So eventually he did find he had a house for the black people that were there for the team, and then another house for the white people. But it was interesting. He said, I don't care how you visit or what you do, but we have to have a house. And I mean, Boston was very different because there weren't the black people up in New England. Yeah.
As Donna's husband had to witness firsthand, it was hard for African Americans and other minorities to get a house to live in near the cities. This was because of laws that cities had that banned African Americans and other minorities from owning homes in the nearby area. This is one of the main reasons that many cities had a low population